first ever skilling boss. It's happening. Yes, hello everybody, and a warm welcome to our reveal stream for the latest Elder God Wars dungeon front, the Croesus front. Over the coming stream, we're going to take you on a tour of this infected front as Bix summons an ancient evil that's already torn up the eastern front by the time you arrive. That's not all we're going to discuss today, though. We owe you some answers on some hot topics like Glacor bugs, Lee's Q&A, and more. We'll make sure we cover those. We're not just going to focus solely on this. We're sure to touch on those today as well. Joining us today to give you tell you more about it is an awesome lineup of Jmods and someone else, special guest that we'll talk about in a minute. Please welcome Mod Shrew, content developer on the Croesus front.
Hey.
Mod Sponge, content developer on the Croesus front.
Hey everyone, hope you're well.
And Mod Jack, designer and narrative wizard for all things Croesus front.
Let me just check my script. Hello.
Nice.
Actually, it was Mod Jack hello, so I think you messed up the script.
I messed up the script.
Don't go on Broadway.
One job.
Now, on top of our team of Jmods ready to give you a tour into Croesus front, we wanted to do something different this week. We wanted to invite in community leaders, someone who has their own community, a whole bunch of fans who watch them too, to ask us questions and bring kind of a player perspective into the show as we go through the chat. So for the stream, we are joined by the one and only YouTuber, streamer, and now what I'm going to say is a top-tier PVMer, Maikeru. How are you doing, Maikeru?
Definitely not the top tier PVM part, but hello, I'm doing well, thank you. Pretty excited overall with what was shown, I guess.
Yeah, awesome. So, yeah, what are your first impressions of the trailer? What's the first things that jump to mind for you?
There's a couple of different things. There's the tier 90 tank armor. I guess it needs some type of effect, because otherwise it won't be too great. But I think you guys are talking about the rewards and stuff later on, right? So,
yeah, we absolutely
we'll find out more, and I'll be able to ask proper questions then about like loot and things like that. But I'm kind of excited because I feel like God Wars Dungeon 3 is trying to showcase loads and loads and loads of different things, because it's not like anything we've had before. So I know a lot of people will probably be kind of angry about a skilling boss, like, because it's not a PVM thing or whatever, but we had like an insanely good PVM boss with the Glacor for low level, high level, whatever, and then we also had like Karapak, which is pretty solid as well. So we've had the PVM stuff, getting a bit of skilling stuff is kind of cool, and then the full front, whatever that will be, I have no idea. But I was kind of intrigued on what you guys would do anyway, because it's hard to top what's already been done.
Yeah, no, totally. And I know you were talking a little bit about, well, obviously we just dropped the date, September 27th. You excited to be getting your hands on this next Monday?
Yes and no. So, like, obviously, it's a little bit more of a, I guess, harsh critique or question, but it's like, so it's coming out next Monday, and to me personally, I feel like that's a little bit too soon, just because when the Glacor came out, like, it's an amazing boss, obviously. Like, the whole mechanics of toggling them off is sick, and then going all the way up to 4,000% in rage challenges, the high end as well. Luca's nearly there, absolute madman. But the thing is, for me, is there was quite a lot of like different bugs on release, and there's still bugs on the Glacor at the moment. So with that still being the case, going into a new boss already seems a little bit soon to me. Is there like reasoning behind it? Have you gone ahead and like looked into different things that, you know, went wrong and made sure they don't go wrong this time, etc.?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and it's something that we wanted to touch on today. So it's really cool you answered it, asked it. So both fronts are actually developed simultaneously by different teams. So we actually have an entirely different team working on this front. So they don't kind of collide with one another. It's how we've been able to release each front at a kind of just roughly within a month of each other, which was the goal we set out with at the start of the year. So that's kind of how they don't conflict with each other in that sense. Talk to some members of the team about this to kind of gather an answer, and it's that Glacor was an extremely complex front. If you joined us for Orion's launch day stream, we talked a lot about how there was a lot of complexity with scalable bossing, a lot of bugs and stuff that came out that obviously we were fixing as fast as we could in the week one. We know that ambition kind of led us to a slightly buggier release in places. And we know that some of those remaining fixes out there are really important to all of you. Checked in with the team to see where these things are, so we could tell you today in case this got brought up, which we, as you kindly did, Maikeru, we kind of expected you would ask that question because it is a hot community topic, and I know you're very in touch with that. So the latest we have is that most of the things from the hitboxes, the Marks of War, etc., are in RC awaiting test. The team know a lot about that. It's really important to a lot of you to see those fixes go in, and that you don't want it to be we just move on to the front and the next one. We are aiming to get some of those fixes into the release alongside Croesus Front. Can't give you a 100% commitment on that until we've passed tests and stuff, but we are hoping to have some more fixes coming in. Anything that doesn't make it will go in shortly after. Things like the hitboxes and everything were things that we need the content dev to work on it. Shortly after the release of Glacier, they had some holiday, and we had some things around the engine tests and stuff that prevented us getting it earlier. So sorry that our communication's been so total trash on that. I will put our hands up and say we should have got that news out to you sooner. Thank you for all the patience. And then just secondly, that the team are working super hard to fix everything. And we will get those fixes to you. They are coming. So basically, the two teams shouldn't have a conflicting quality issue, and that's how we can hopefully deliver everything you're looking for, rather than just one or the other. I hope that answers that, Maikeru.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. And plus, I mean, like a skilling boss is not going to be anywhere near as complex as one where you can toggle off mechanics, and then one where it goes all the way.
Yeah.
They had everything, so I guess it makes sense. And I think it was just because Karapak went pretty damn smoothly. There was only very minor things with that one, and then there was some major things with the Glacier. So people were a bit more, like, I guess, disappointed on release.
Yeah.
But you got it done pretty quick either way, because I think there was like one really bad one, which was the 250% minion killing the boss. But that was fixed within like an hour anyway.
Yeah.
So like, people like myself, we just didn't go past 250% for like an hour, and then it was fixed, and we just continued. So it didn't matter too much because it was fixed pretty quickly. But I was just wondering whether there was anything that you put in place or whatever. But different teams make sense as well.
Yeah, and also one thing I meant to mention as well, because I know Mod Sponge is passionate to get that news out. The Cinderbanes bug on the list, right? On the hit list.
Yeah, so I've already fixed it. It's just awaiting RC QA, I believe. So that should be out Monday as well.
Awesome. Well, unexpected point in the show to cover it, but here we are. This is the fun of having Maikeru on to be a voice of the player. So thanks for doing that, Maikeru, and hopefully that gave you a lot of information. Let's dive into the show. Let's give you a tour of the Croesus front. Now, if we could switch to picture-in-picture to show some gameplay, we're going to show you the front live. Now, I want to set some expectations before we go in. We're going to give you a full deep dive on the army, I'm going to put that in quotes, of this front. We're going to give you a full deep dive on the rewards. We're going to show you the front environment. When it comes to the boss, we're going to give you some information, but don't expect this to be like the Glacier front. When it was a tutorial boss, we wanted to give you that insight to the mechanics that we don't usually do. Obviously, we love seeing players going out there and discovering their own strategies and their own ways to deal with these things, and this is a brand new thing. So we'll be a little bit lighter on the boss than last time, but more detail on the rewards, which hopefully will be awesome. So let's set the scene here. Things are getting desperate. We've had Nodon warriors at our doorstep. Then we had Glacier invasions on our doorstep. And now there's a new front opening as Bick brings something seriously scary to the table, and the defense is going to really be pushed to the limit. For those of you who may not have joined us for the previous ones, the only need to know is the Elder Gods are sending forces to reclaim their eggs in order to hatch them, and if they do, they'll consume Gillinor in the process, and they need their armies to basically get to the eggs, because they're Elder Gods. They can't do... precise is the word, Jack? Subtle?
Yeah.
They can't be precise and targeted enough to do that. So
yeah, they're worried they'll destroy them.
Yeah, so to kick things off, let's take a look at the cutscene for the Croesus front.
I was there in the year of Croesus. The year the fungus killed 50,000 people, and the 10th Legion were annihilated.
I'm not hearing the audio.
It was the second age,
I think in-game volume
not
might have switched
long
up.
after the end of the Caridian campaign. An expedition returned from the unquiet ocean with a very unusual species of fungus. The fools thought they could turn it into a weapon. A botanical plague they could unleash on the enemies of the Empire. They called it Croesus. Its spores infested the bodies of the dead, spreading and growing. They fed its slaves, tested it, burned away weakness, forced it to evolve. They did their jobs far too well. After one serious breach, they were ordered to cease their work. They didn't. Inevitably, Croesus broke free into the city again, choking the streets with its putrescent growth. Nothing could stop it. Priests and guards alike were powerless, and their bodies only served to fuel its flourishing. I was with the 10th Legion when we were recalled from the border to combat the infestation. After days of fighting, my wings ached, and my dragon fire was spent. We razed miles of city to contain it. The Legion were almost completely wiped out. It still wasn't enough. In the end, Lord Zaros was forced to intervene personally. He quarantined this whole district, simply buried it beneath the earth. I thought the remains of Croesus were destroyed. They assured me they were destroyed. They say that of all the Elder Gods, Bic holds intelligent life in the greatest contempt. She must have found Croesus beneath the graveyard and revived it. Even now, it feeds on the ancient dead. It's already massacred every defender on this front. If we don't drive it back, it will tear the cathedral to pieces.
So there we go. I love all the COVID-19 and quarantine jokes going off in the chat there. That was great. Mod Jack, so obviously this is, Bic is not one of the more well-known gods in terms of information, Elder God, sorry. And obviously now we're introducing Croesus, who sounds pretty darn scary, to be honest. What can you tell us about the Croesus front and Bic, and just generally where we are at with this front?
I mean, the two distinctive things about this front are in the most recent. So every week the gods chat in the cathedral talking about what's going on, and Seren used her powers to get Varrock and Falador to send guards to defend on the eastern front. She said, "Oh, they'll be fine. They'll just call for help if there's anything goes wrong," and then Bic sent something in and massacred them all. The previous two fronts are kind of, the generals are kind of intelligent beings, but Bic, as we mentioned in the cutscene, she really doesn't care for intelligent life at all. She thinks it's kind of an abomination, so she didn't want any sort of mortal servant serving her. So she's found this ancient monster that was originally developed in the Second Age and sent that in for her instead. I saw some questions in the chat about who it is that is narrating the cutscene. Some people have worked it out, but if you head in there, you'll see the character yourself, I think.
All right, let's go in. And then we will talk about the front itself. So immediately you get this like green haze. So I want to stop actually because I think people need to see. This is kind of a bit of a. There's your answer, by the way. There's a bit of a horror element here, right? It's from a visual perspective, it's not other than my horrible looking character model. Like, these are some pretty messed up dead guards here, and it only gets worse as you go in, right?
It's challenging adding skilling content to what's supposed to be like a serious war. So that was kind of the narrative was built around that. Like, how do we make skilling content seem threatening? Yeah,
so like unlike the other fronts where the front is already, is very much an active battle, this is really a front that's essentially fallen, right? The front is barely there, it's barely holding on, right?
Yeah, the defenders have already lost. Golvek's kind of holding out by himself.
Oh, there's something about Elder God Wars Dungeon and the big vistas we do, huh? There's still plenty more to dive into
the
here.
development team have done such an amazing job on this all of these updates. So, like, these are easily all the best environments we've ever done. They're absolutely fantastic. Mm-hmm. And they've really been putting a lot of attention into, like, the initial impression it creates on you when you first go in. Absolutely looks amazing.
Yeah. Now, we've said throughout these fronts that this fast pace, this pace kind of release, front by front, lets us narratively escalate the war, but also bring a lot more variety to each corner of the dungeon, more than we've been able to do for any other dungeon, really. I'm not sure we get much more varied on a front of a God Wars dungeon than skilling. Shrew, how did this come about, and what experience are you hoping to bring players watching this?
Yeah, I mean, a skilling boss is it's not an unknown thing. Obviously, we've not done it in RuneScape before. This is the first time, but it's something everybody's aware of. Most people who play the game are aware. Old school has a skilling bot. Well, has skilling bosses, and it's something that is obviously interesting, and it's not something we've done, so we want to investigate. So yeah, throughout this entire front, like we try and like just have that high level of threat and kind of feel of pressure, and clearly something awful's gone on, and we've tried to make sure that this is all kind of consistent with the whole skilling feel, and yeah, like look, everybody's dead. Obviously it's a shame you don't see this beforehand, like as Croesus was liberated by Bick, then like just the force of power that spread out just annihilated everybody that was here on the front, and yeah, then that fungus has kind of just spread across. It's infesting the dead creatures and things here, and we've kind of looked at ways to have all of these skills feel like their skills still, but just in a slightly more slightly different way. Like I'm not sure if you can see, like maybe down there, like there is actually fungus growing on dead NPCs that you need to
I'm trying to
gather
find
the
some of
fungus
them.
from.
Yeah.
Just down there where there's the particles. So like throughout the graveyard, there's multiple of these spots just standard, like that you're skilling. So this is essentially the army. So Croesus's fungus has spread out. There's 4 different types you'd have seen in the trailer just gone. We've got mining, woodcutting, hunter, and fishing. So there's nodes that as player you can gather from throughout. These obviously you collect, you gather the fungus. Obviously has variety of different uses. And yeah, it's obviously skilling boss who kind of want to keep these things consistent. As a player, if you had like level 1 combat, you're not interested in that, you can still come here, you can engage, you kind of get that feel of danger, but without the risk of death. And that's something we wanted to keep consistent throughout this. And yeah, it's a nice, like as a level 1 combat player, someone who's not interested in combat, you should definitely find content here that you are interested in and is exciting. And hopefully for those combat players as well, like top level, you should also find interesting content here and stuff that you want to play. So yeah, kind of a lot of this has been based on that really.
So just before we dive into what that army, the skilling experience, the army as of this front is, I just want to talk more, Jack. Like, can you tell us a little bit? With the glacial front, we saw across the cathedral the front change. We saw the dynamics of the soldiers looking a little bit more tired, more supplies coming in. Where are we at in the battle today? When you get to this front, what kind of state are you joining the defense in?
As we talked about on the Croesus front, they've already lost and they've fallen back. We've actually updated the other fronts with this launch as well. So you'll see the situation has become more desperate on all the fronts. There's more dead and wounded soldiers. The enemy have actually captured more territory and pushed the defenders back. So where they were sort of holding out a defensive line, that's now been forced back. Things are going quite badly for the defenders.
Oh, cool. Now, I'm sure, Maikeru, you're going to have some questions coming up here when we get to this bit, which I'm excited to hear what you think. Shrew, why don't you run us through, we're in this graveyard, you've pointed out that we have literally things that you're going to go get resources from that are growing out of the dead bodies here. Why don't you explain the nodes, give us a little tour, tell me where to go node by node, and we'll talk a little bit about what these nodes are, the difference between them, what skills you're going to be using here, and why there's value in doing this.
Sure. Yeah, if you want to head down the left stairs first, because we've already looked at them. So as mentioned, there's the 4 core skills which you remove the fungus, gather the fungus with. So these are woodcutting nodes. Levels throughout for all the skills is consistent. So these base versions here that you can see, there's no particles or anything on them. They require level 88 to gather from. These do occasionally mutate. It's fungus. It's Croesus's fungus. It's like powerful stuff. Like it mutates, and that's your higher level higher level 92 to gather from. So you do get a slight variation on resource from the two. But yeah, so this is obviously woodcutting. You use your axe. All of your standard woodcutting stuff is relevant here. I will quickly mention as well throughout, like all of anything you see in the encounter in the area that looks like this is woodcutting. Like even in the boss encounter, you see this stuff. That's what you use for it. So we've kept like visual consistency throughout all of these to ensure that whether you're here, whether you're in the boss encounter, they look the same, and you know what you're going to get before you even kind of walk up to it. So yeah, that's the woodcutting. If we head over the other side of the bridge, we'll get to fishing nodes. So these look awesome. Is literally dead bodies floating in water with fungal algae growing on top. Again, we have standard node and the increased node level. Again, it's exactly the same, and they're identifiable again with particles, as well as there's a slight change to the model when they mutate. So yeah.
Did I hear, Maikeru, did you say something? I thought I heard something on mic.
Oh no, I just
okay, I'm
thought it was
crazy.
pretty cool.
I'm going crazy.
I like
the front's getting to me.
models of it in general. I think it's pretty cool so far. Obviously, I want to like look at all of the showcase first before I like comment on it, right?
Oh yeah, no, I just thought I think I heard production in my ear or something like that. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, then up to here we'll find are the mining nodes. So this is, you gather calcified fungus. Again, all kind of visual similarities and stuff. Is yellow fungus. You'll see it. There's some pretty gruesome ones like there growing out of his neck, and yeah, just again, he just kind of follows that all kind of vile, kind of creepy, like imagery and visual. Yeah, like again, look at that. But yeah, it's got the same particles, same mutation. It's all the again 88, 92.
And finally,
and then the last one up in the cathedral. So the room. What I don't actually know what it's called. The mausoleum. So these are our hunter nodes. So here there's spores that you catch for hunter. So you can bare hand or butterfly net catch these. Essentially, this area is just this where the dead creatures are, and the fungus has kind of just been left to mutate, and it's in a reasonably enclosed space. So there's these spores. And these are hunter again. They catch in a very similar way to like standard butterfly catching, but these nodes won't just they don't vanish on catch, so you can kind of they do degrade, but you can continue to gather from these for a short while without moving. Obviously they mutate and things like that, which will kind of you'll want to react to because you'll get better XP, you get the better version of the resource. That's probably something to say for all the previous ones as well. They all have a chance to mutate. They all have a chance to degrade. So if they degrade, you'll need to move to another spot. They're not down for an overly long period of time, but
And so, like, obviously, we got these 4 skills. For those people on their journey, they're hitting the 88s and 92s. That obviously these have a place in the XP kind of training journey. What are you trying to do with this front? Like, what extra values you want these nodes to bring? What are you hoping to achieve when it comes to making these viable for or interesting to people who maybe aren't just on that XP journey, but also have gone past it and have their max, and this would be content to come back to.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the kind of early plans with these and the skilling nodes is like we wanted a bit of a kind of ecosystem where you can be out here gathering stuff, you can do some sort of like some sort of like crafting or cooking or something that will be able to benefit players doing the boss encounter, or as an Iron Man, you can come here, you can gather stuff, you can spend the time to create something which will benefit you in the encounter overall. So like the resources from these have a multiple kind of uses, as mentioned, like a consumable style thing which can benefit you in the encounter. I won't go into too much detail because like kind of fun things to work out once the project goes live. And then, you know, the one thing I will say is we've also added a couple of new potions. They're just kind of filling gaps which already existed, and again, you know, you can use this fungus there to make those. But yeah, like again, like it really was about kind of trying to create a bit of an ecosystem. Also, obviously, you know, it's good XP at 88 and 92. Again, like for Hunter in particular, you know, those nodes don't deplete. So again, that's another appealing addition, which is different to butterfly catching or something like that. So, but yeah, there's more uses to them. You know, they plug back into some of the crafting for some of the rewards you might get from the boss. So yeah, it really is about, like, there's uses to them. I will mention as well, you know, it's fungus. You can feed it to your player own farm stuff. So there's also nice stuff there.
Yeah, nice for them. Yeah, fungus from dead bodies is great.
Tastes good.
So,
anyone out? Any? Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. So when it comes to like these methods and whatnot, are these like methods you wanted to be competitive with other methods of the levels? So like when you did the XPs and stuff, did you like compare them to like methods that are already existing so that they compete with those, or are they going to be better? Are they going to be worse? Is there better money? What's the like balancing?
So yeah, when we were looking at these, it was about kind of like keeping stuff where like appropriate, consistent with, like, you know, the level. So at 88 and 90, and between 88 and 92, this should be a very desirable training method. After that, like obviously the XP will still be good, and in some cases where, you know, the nodes don't deplete as fast, for Hunter, like I mentioned before, like they don't just deplete after every catch. So there are additional benefits there which might, you know, for a potentially a more AFK player, you might, this might be way more desirable. At the same time, like with the whole, you know, the fungus here plugs back into other stuff. It plugs into stuff in the encounter. You can make stuff which should have value. So yeah, there should definitely be like a financial kind of desirability in engaging in this. XP should be on kind of on par with other training at the same point, but as a more AFK player, again, you might find it more desirable because of kind of degrading rates.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool, and we're going to be going into the rewards, and that includes things that are related to these nodes shortly. But for now, should we go check out the boss? Like the Arch Glacier in the Glacier front, there is a big old boss at the center of this front, and it's Croesus. So first up, Mod Jack, Mod Shrew, I hear this thing can't be killed? What?
Yeah, you don't really have any weapons capable of destroying it, but you can at least drive it back, stop it from encroaching on the cathedral any further.
Yeah,
it can be defeated, so you can get your prize. Sorry, go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, so I was going to say, yeah, so essentially with this, like, I mean, Croesus has been alive, essentially, or an active thing for, like, 7,000 plus years. It can't actually be killed. Like, there were armies of 10th Legion and like, Gorvek and things, they couldn't do anything. All they could do was weaken it until a point that the fungus itself goes dormant. So essentially, as a player, your goal here is not really to kill it. It is to use what you have at your disposal to weaken it to a point and remove its kind of power so it goes dormant. And like that is essentially your killing of a boss. You know, that's the point you get your rewards. That's the point that the encounter ends. You get kill count, things like that. Yeah.
So you know, by the way, Croesus is right now in a kind of a dormant, a kind of sleeping pose. That's we're not going to awaken, so you can see what happens when we start the battle today, as we talked about. We want to hide that stuff. But before we go into Croesus specifically, Shrew, this is the first time we've ever had a skilling boss in RuneScape, as mentioned. What does that mean to you as designer philosophically? Like, what are you trying to bring that's unique? Well, you know, OSRS have already kind of had a take on this. What was your kind of like pillars behind it? when you were thinking about what you wanted to feel like and be in a RuneScape experience?
Yeah, so like as you said, old school have skilling bosses, and this was something initially as soon as I got on the project, like started investigating started kind of prototyping and kind of just trying to validate decisions and kind of ideas. And I think reasonably early on, I came to the conclusion that I believe that like the identity of an old school RuneScape skilling boss and a RuneScape 3 skilling boss should be two different things. Like early on, it was very much about increasing that level of intensity and kind of keeping a level of risk, but not the same level of risk. I mean, very early on with this, I sat down and broke down kind of all attributes that RuneScape bosses have, and attributes that old school RuneScape skilling bosses have, and kind of went through those and broke down what should and shouldn't be an attribute of a RuneScape skilling boss. So yeah, especially early on, there was a lot of investigation, and throughout this project, ideas and kind of implementation and everything was validated as much as possible. Like this is more intense than an old school RuneScape skilling boss. You have to you're constantly under siege essentially by the boss. Like he doesn't deal damage to you. You do. I mean, I'm not sure whether this is laid out later, but anyway, your stats get drained. So all about Croesus is, he's essentially is draining nutrients and it's draining energy from all these nodes around. All of its fungus essentially is seeping energy back into the boss, making it stronger. Sorry, when the pictures disappeared, I was like, oh, and then I forgot what I was saying. Yeah.
You were saying skilling, like the focus is on your skilling stats, right? Like your skilling stats are what matters. There's no damage, there's no death, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no death, there is losing. You can lose in the same way you can, like, think of a group boss in RuneScape. You as a player can lose. You as a team can lose. So there's still we keep those elements, but that's all done through your stats. So your stats get drained throughout the encounter. You make mistakes, you get hit by the boss, you will lose stats. You can do things to, as you would expect, bring your stats back up. So yeah, I'll go kind of. I'm trying not to go into too much detail because I really want players to get into this and kind of strategize and work things out for themselves. But from a core boss point of view, we have tried to keep this feeling like a boss. Like we want this to feel like a boss. We want this to feel like the level of excitement. When you're all close to dying or a mechanic's gone off and you've reacted a little bit too late, there's that awesome just kind of panic, and this is what we've tried to capture as much as possible. And all kind of, if you think about things that bosses are involved in, kill count, boss logs, boss pets, things like that, Croesus has. It is a boss, and that's what we want to see it as. But it's not got that same intense. It's got the same where we've tried to keep as much intensity as possible. As saw in as seen in the trailer, it's a group boss. It is designed as a group experience. You need to work together. Like if you want to, optimize your kills, you all need to be doing the right things. You need to be reacting at the right times. You need to be working together.
And on that note, actually, I'm sure, Maikeru, you're going to have some questions, so I want to leave some space for you here as well. But just quickly for me, Modru, how many people can participate in this at once? And what's our kind of recommended number? And do you have to get a group together beforehand, or is it something you can just drop into? And then secondly, how do the drops work in a boss like this?
Sure. So group sizes, technically you can create an instance and play with 50 people if you want. There's a lot there, and if I'm honest, you'll probably, in some respect, you might actually find it harder with too many people because there's more people for the Croesus to siphon energy off. But it is massable, and yeah, recommended group size though is 8. When we've been playing, there's been some big internal playtests of this, and definitely recommended is 8. You can, like, you might want to, so going into drops slightly, your drops, you get drops in the same way you will a standard boss, but your drops here are based on your kind of contribution to the encounter. So, you know, if you have a smaller team, you're going to technically be doing more, so you're going to be rewarded more for it. So there is benefit by learning, learning it to a point where you can deal with smaller teams and you can all work together well. But at the same time, you know, an 8, you'll still get rewarded nicely for like an average, like a team size of 8. In masses, you'll still be rewarded, obviously to a lesser extent because you will be doing less. What was part? I can't
There's
remember.
a clear
part
question in the chat. Well, I just want to go to a question in the chat. The main thing coming through is solo ?
Okay, so you can try it. You can try it if you want. I don't believe it's physically possible. Or no, it probably is possible, but it would take a while. It is designed as a group boss. We don't want to prevent players trying it because, you know, I say it might not be possible. Pretty much 90% of the people in here are going to be better than I am. So, you know what, you like prove me wrong essentially. But yeah, so talking as well about the group stuff, like traditionally in RuneScape, it's not always easy to find a group. So we have added public instances with this, where, you know, you can go on a world, just click public instance, it will take you into an active instance if there is one. If people are already playing the boss, you'll just sit in this waiting area, kind of just the other side of the gate, and you can wait for them to finish. As soon as it's finished, you can join them. So we've kind of, like, obviously being a group encounter, we want to try and improve and make it easier for you to take part. So hopefully that will help people who possibly might struggle to find a team.
Cool. Just one more question from me as well. There's a bunch of Iron Man players in chat, as there always is. Can you group in a public encounter if you're an Iron Man?
Yes, I believe yes, you can.
Awesome. Maikeru, you got any questions about the boss? I know we're not able to go too much into mechanics and stuff.
Yeah.
But what are your kind of top questions right now?
A couple, like, linking into the stuff that was just asked pretty much. I was going to ask the same type of things. I guess with the public instances, when you said it's open to Iron Man, is it just an Iron Man instance when you join, or is it mains and Iron Man can play together?
I'll have to triple check, but I'm pretty sure it's essentially you can, as an Iron Man, you could play with a non-Iron Man in a public instance.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, because I like stuff like that when it comes to like mini games and stuff, right? You can do it with Iron Man or whatever, so the skill and boss would be the same. It's not like restricted to one, because if there's not many Iron Men doing it, you might be struggling to find a group or something.
Yeah, I mean, you're still rewarded based on your contribution. So, like, as an Iron Man, you're not going to have you're not going to have an advantage by playing with other people. You still have to contribute appropriately to get your reward, essentially. And XP as well throughout the encounter, it's worth mentioning, is all based on your contribution. Again, you know, if you're gathering the stuff from the nodes, you're the one that gets the XP for that contribution. That when the boss dies, you, like, as an Iron Man, you won't just get a massive drop of XP. So, you know, you need to. It's not worth. It's worth you giving that contribution.
I'm guessing there'll be like a dedicated world for it, right?
We need to have the discussions, but yeah, there should be a couple of dedicated worlds, which then, yeah, you know, as a player you can join, and there should hopefully be active games.
Okay. And then, other than that, in terms of questions with like the loot and stuff, is it going to be maybe similar to like Karapak and stuff? Are you able to say whether there'll be like piles, and then depending on your contribution, you get like X amount of piles each? Is it possible to get nothing for your contribution if you don't do much? Or
so, if you were to literally go in and sit and do nothing, you will not get anything. You know, it's not worth your time. It's not worth, like, it's unfair on your teammates if you just go in and do nothing, because you're not going to be helping your team. You're going to be helping the boss. Like, the boss has an overall win state, like the more, if it gets too strong, you can't physically beat it. You lose, like the encounter ends. So if you're to go in and just not do anything, you're going to be making that harder potentially for your team. Like you're not going to stop them, but you will likely make it harder. And then regarding the drops, so you can probably see the chest there. Drops are added to the chest on kill, and yeah, the number of drops you get can vary from anything from like 1 to I don't want to go exactly into the numbers, but a fair amount higher. And obviously, the more drops you get, the better chance you've got of getting the kind of more desirable items. So yeah, your contribution really does matter. Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah, I
saw.
like that type of style. And one other thing, if I could quickly say, if that's okay, Huli.
Yeah, of course.
Is there like different variants of this, or is it just one mode fits all, or is there like a hard mode, challenge mode, whatever it would be?
Yeah, it's just one mode. There's nothing to say, couldn't look to do something in the future, but yeah, it's not on the cards currently. You just have the one standard mode, which yeah, like I will mention now, like from a scaling point of view, the more players in there, the health of the boss does scale. So people need to contribute. That's not a direct scale of like for one person, 2 people, it doubles. It slowly does reduce, so it could like will encourage that kind of massing environment to some extent. Yeah, so you're not going to be like, if you have a mass of 30 people, you don't need all 30 people to be doing 100% to win the encounter, but you have 4 players or less, you are going to need everybody to be like on the ball.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Saw some questions in the chat. Does this have like all the standard things that usually come with a boss? A kill count, boss logs, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yep. You get everything that you would expect with a standard boss. You have here. So boss pet, as we've done with the previous 2 Elder God Wars dungeon bosses. There's a variant once you get 1,000 kills. We've got the title for completing the log. You've got a log. You've got like your boss portals. It's there. There's a new category on Reaper for skilling boss. So again, you can toggle it on, toggle it off. This is a group boss, so if you do want to get Croesus, you need group and skilling boss on. But yeah, it's again like as a skiller, it's a nice way to get some Slayer XP. If you want to be getting, if you try and get Croesus tasks. Yeah.
Is
All right.
it required
Go ahead.
for insane final boss and like final boss and stuff? Because if you could get a Reaper task of it, I'm guessing it's required for like the 100 kills, and if it has a pet, you will need the pet.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, I've been seeing quite a lot of stuff in chat. I'm not sure if there's plan to talk about it later, but there's like loads of people saying free death week. This is something we discussed a lot. Obviously, this is a skilling boss. There's no risk of death. You can lose, but yes, there will still be a free death week. So yeah, enjoy.
Oh, all right. And on that note, obviously we talked about rewards and logs and all that good stuff. No front is complete without rewards, is it? And Mod Sponge, bless your heart. You've been sitting here patiently. The chat's been like free Mod Sponge, but you've been waiting for your time to shine. But if it's Mod Sponge time, that does mean it's time to talk about rewards. Everyone knows you as a heavy role in a lot of our rewards, especially for the front so far. There's a whole host of rewards to cover for this front. Do you want to tell us what players can expect to see over the coming front? Starting with, I think we should probably cover. There's some combat gear in a skilling front, right?
I mean, there is. I don't think we should cover it today. I think we should leave it now. I'm joking.
All right, cool.
So yeah. Let's start with the magic tank armor. Obviously, that got just a 1-word mention in the trailer. So this is Crypt Bloom armor. A lot of people are probably like, we've already got tier 90 magic armor. This is very different to the Raids armor. Obviously, Raids has its set effect, and you gain like the extra damage whilst using, I think it's a shield or a defender, I forget. But this is very much a tank set. Obviously, tank armor in the past has been kind of, well, garbage. Then I don't want to kind of blow my horn, but then Animate Dead came along, and now people kind of enjoying it a bit more. It kind of makes sense to make a more easily accessible or alternatively accessible Magic Tank set. So yeah, Crypt Bloom Armor. It's tier 90 Magic with I think it's 4 set effects. It's kind of 3, but we'll say 4 anyways. So should I go? Yeah, I'll go into depth on this. Oh well, because I enjoy it. So if you have at least 2 pieces equipped, the armor grants you a 12% damage reduction from magic and an 8% damage reduction from melee. So this is very much drawing back on Ganodermic armor. If you was playing way back when, Ganodermic had this absorption thing, and it essentially absorbed a percentage of the damage you took. So kind of bringing that back in this armor. So yeah, 2 pieces, you get 12 and 8% damage reductions, no ranged, because obviously combat triangle weakness. And then that grows further on the third set, on the 3 pieces. So if you equip an extra piece, you'll gain an extra 6% magic, an extra 4% melee. And that 6 and 4% then get doubled if you're also using an earth spell. So maybe finding some uses there. Obviously, I also brought out fire and water spells, so I'm kind of like teasing people maybe there that you have to pick. Do you want defensive? Do you want offensive? Or maybe you'll switch between. And then the next piece, so 4 pieces equipped, you'll gain access to something which is called Croesus Death Spores. So this is designed for like group encounters. So if you've got a magic as your main tank, or if you're duoing, you want the mage in the tank armor taking the aggro. And whenever you get hit, whilst you have at least 4 pieces equipped, you have a chance to inflict your target with Croesus Death Spores. And that essentially applies a vulnerability to your target that causes them to take more damage if attacked from behind. So it's like, I'm sure people here have done Beastmaster and whatever, so you'll pull him into the corner, he's just wailing away at you, and then you've got your team behind him, and then I'll get an extra damage because this debuff is procced on him. And then yeah, the final effect. Sorry, there's quite a few on this. I kind of went.
Yeah, there is.
Someone told me I can make Magic Tank armor. I was like, I've got to do something to try and make it good. So yeah, the final effect. If you have all pieces equipped, if you fall below 20% HP whilst you have it equipped, you will get a fungal shield, which is essentially, if you think of Crystal Shield, it's that bonus HP pool. And that scales with your armor and your defense level. So it's kind of almost like a Phoenix necklace. So you have that time where you're not just going to insta die. You can maybe wait before healing up to get some more damage in because you get this bonus health. That obviously has a fairly long cooldown. Otherwise, you could just sit at that HP forever. But yeah, so that's the Crypt Bloom armor. I'll try and be briefer and more to the point for the rest of the year.
Oh no, I think chat wants that detail. And just so you know, anyone who any of this detail, we have a blog going up right after the stream that will give you all the juicy details on this. So don't worry, it's coming. Awesome. Just before I move on, Michael, you got any questions on the tank armor?
With the blog that you released with like more details and stuff, will that have like the actual like armor values and things like that on their pieces?
The armor values, health values will be tier 90. It's just
so it will be the same as Acto kind of thing.
Armor and health values same as Acto. The cooldowns of the effects, etc., will be on the blog though.
Okay.
I saw someone quickly said, "Is it augmentable?" Yes, of course. Otherwise, it'd be doomed to rot. Cool. So, should I jump on the next one?
What's next? Yeah, you should.
I'm gonna skip over one, and I'll come back. We had a plan for the order, but there's one I just want to briefly cover.
I thought I switched it. Sorry.
You did. I'm switching it again. I want to just briefly cover the Grasping Rune Pouch. So obviously up till now, players are running into encounters of 18 million rune pouches, all 3 slots. The boss introduces the Grasping Rune Pouch, which is made of flakes of the boss. So each time you kill the boss, you'll get a certain number of flakes. You use these flakes and some other tertiary materials to create the Grasping Rune Pouch. This is an upgrade to the previous rune pouch. It uses it in the recipe, and this now contains an extra rune slot. And whilst you have it equipped, you have a 25% chance to save runes in combat spells.
It's huge.
It's 33% bigger. Big pouch.
Mm.
So yeah, that's the rune pouch. I don't know if I've got any. Well, I'm just getting his pogs in chat. Not really any. How did I know? It was just like going rune pouch 3, 4.
That's all we needed.
And now people kind of go crazy. So moving on. Maybe we'll just line up any questions at the end or something. We are introducing a mining and woodcutting skilling offhand. These are 2 separate offhands, not a single one.
We have shots of those, production, by the way. I think we have a couple of shots of those, don't we?
These are tier 8, level 80 offhands. So we have Tagger's Core Hammer and Sana's Fire Torch. I probably murdered that shrew, but I apologize.
Call it what you want.
So the Fire Torch, it has the Core Hammer has a 10% critical strike chance when mining, and plus 35 critical strike damage whilst mining. People got excited until I said mining. But essentially, yeah, so this gives you a bunch of mining stats. And whilst mining core ores, when you receive an ore, you have a chance to receive Death Spore arrow tips. The higher tier the ore, the higher chance to get arrow tips, and the greater the quantity. So you have this kind of, do I go for a low ore that I can just fly through and get a few? Do I go a high ore? I'm going to sit for ages, but I'll get chunks of them when they do come in. I'm sure there's some people wondering about arrow tips. I'm going to skip over that for now. And go straight with Sana's Fire Torch.
Sponge's teaser of teasers.
This is a level 80 woodcutting offhand. This gives a plus 6% success rate to woodcutting, similar to the elite outfit and the auras and stuff. And also gives you a 20% chance to get an extra log whilst woodcutting. And whilst woodcutting with the Fire Torch, anytime you gain logs, you have a chance to get splintering arrow tips. The higher tier the log, the more chance of receiving them, and the more arrow tips you'll get. Any questions on those?
What do the arrow tips do?
Well, the arrow tips are very important because they can be fletched into arrows.
Mm-hmm.
That answers your question.
Yep. Perfect.
Yep.
Any effects?
The arrow tips, no, maybe the arrows do that.
Yeah, the arrows themselves.
So the Death Spore arrows. So Death Spore arrows by default give you 3% critical strike chance. So similar to like I can't remember what I called it, the Stalker's Ring. You'll just get a flat 3% critical strike chance whilst using them. And when you critically strike, you'll gain a stack of Feasting Spores. When you reach 5 stacks, you'll gain a buff, which makes your next range ability free to cast within 9 seconds. You'll still have to have the adrenaline to reach that, so you have to kind of think when you're going to be putting in your adrenaline pot. Essentially acts like a relentless proc. So I'm expecting players to, come up with some crazy things they can do. Obviously, we have a lot of abilities that aren't adrenaline efficient, but maybe do higher damage, like Dead Shot. Kind of always been trash up till now because it costs 100% adrenaline. It has okay damage, but now that's basically a 0 cost if you cast it at the right time. So that effect has a 60-second cooldown. But anytime you critically strike whilst it's on cooldown, you reduce the cooldown by 1.8 seconds. So the more you're critically striking, the more you're going to have free abilities, essentially. And then the splintering arrows, these cause any ability cast after Greater Dazing Shot to apply puncture. So you'll Greater Dazing Shot, Greater Ricochet, and suddenly this thing's got 7 puncture stacks. And that also increases the cap puncture to 13. Expecting some cool combos, Greater Dazing Shot, Rapid Fire. There is a time period of 4.2 seconds where the stacks can apply. So in some situations you'll be able to get off multiple abilities, to get off multiple stacks. to like supercharge puncture essentially and get it up really, really quick. Yeah, so that's the 2 arrows. Sorry, really quick. Yes, I was just going to briefly say, it might answer it, but they are level 95 arrows.
Okay, that was one of them. Another one would be like, so when you get the effects and like you use them and whatnot, would you be able to swap weapons and the effects persist? Because obviously weapon switching will be a big thing.
Only if that weapon uses arrows. So like the free ability, you'll want to fire off with a bow because you need the arrows equipped to get the effect.
Yeah.
But then as soon as
so
that's
if
done,
you swap to crossbows or
else.
something, it doesn't work.
Yeah, because you're not using the arrows.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Cool. There's another one in there. I don't know if we want to give that to Shrew, or I don't know who was going to talk about the last one.
Yeah, Shrew, you've got one in there before the usual stuff.
Oh, yes, yeah. Sorry. Again, so the last reward is something that it's been, I think, requested quite a lot over time, and it is a seed bag. So this essentially just allows you to store up to 40 seed types in the bag up to max stack. So pretty big for kind of cleanup, pretty big for your runs. You don't have to have just tons of seeds in your bag, in your backpack. You can just bring your seed bag. You can bank it as is. You don't have to worry about taking things out, putting them back in. They'll always be there. So yeah, it was just something been requested a lot. This seemed like a really nice, from a thematic point of view, to tie it in. Like the whole kind of naturey feel, and so again with that you'll craft. There'll be a unique drop from the boss. You use fungus and Croesus flakes to create it. The unique that drops, that's tradable, but the crafted version of the bag isn't. So you need the the crafting level to be able to make it. But yeah, it's pretty big from kind of inventory management point of view, and yeah, it was something we kind of really wanted to bring out with this.
Yeah, and I think chat agrees their banks are saved. So just one last thing as well that I want to cover on the rewards front. I'm conscious of time. We wanted to give you a lot of information, and I hope that's what you're getting out of this. We've also got the usual front rewards included, right? So what can players expect in kind of the theme of the Elder God Wars dungeon rewards that we've seen throughout the other two fronts so far?
Yeah, so with the others, obviously, there's the standard upgrade to the Pontifex ring. With that, your effects benefit you in the encounter. You'll get when your stats get drained, they get drained by less. So that's kind of the effect. So if you're kind of full on or enjoying the boss, playing the boss, it's really nice benefit. And when from playing myself, it saved me on many occasions because I like making mistakes. Then obviously with the others updates, we have the same trove system. We have the essence. What's it called? The stuff you upgrade your ring with, obviously. So we've got that, and yeah, with the trove as well, which is really nice. Obviously, other updates you get with the previous two bosses, a trove from, or you can get a trove from a boss kill. You can get a trove from a Slayer creature kill. We obviously don't have Slayer creature kills, so as a skiller on those nodes, you will also gain troves. You'll also gain the essence. So yeah, you're not. It's another benefit to the encounter, especially like as the kind of troves tier increases. It is actually a really nice additional benefit, and potentially a big kind of a suitable, a nice additional financial gain.
Yeah. Is there also a scripture of Bic for this front, in line with the other two fronts?
Yes, yeah, I forgot about that.
There is indeed. So we're revealing effect. I'll do it anyways. Oh well. So
yeah, you can do it. It's fine. Go for it.
The scripture of Bic is a skilling god book. So whilst equipped, it acts similarly to Grace of the Elves. While skilling randomly occasionally, you'll get a catalyst of alteration spawn nearby. It's a mushroom. You click the mushroom, you get a buff that gives you 5% increased XP for a minute, and you also gain some clue scrolls. So the clue scroll tier can differ, but it is weighted towards giving elites. between, I think, unless Shogun attacked my balancing and wasn't happy with it, it's between 1 and 3 clue scrolls that you can get from a single drop. So
Yeah,
it should give
I did
skillers
change it
some nice
slightly.
access.
It is still 1 to 3 other than masters.
Cool. Yeah, there is a very rare chance to get a master, but it is weighted towards elites, with which you'll be able to get 1 to 3.
Great. Maikeru, just before I ask one more question on the rules, you got any questions you want to drop, or should I ask my last question?
I had one, but I can't remember where it was. It was to do with the drops of sorts, but I'll skip that one. When it comes to
If you have it for us
the, yeah, okay. And when it comes to the like God book, I'm guessing the proc may have a cooldown. If it does it have like a timer on it?
It will work similarly to how Grace of the Elves does, where there is a small internal cooldown, but it has a much higher chance to proc than that.
Okay.
You obviously I think what you might be getting at is like, if one procs and I get it, so I have a minute buff, and then if another one appears, what do I do? You'll have to kind of balance that out of how long till I click it to get the maximum buff. It doesn't like stack your buff up above a minute.
Okay, cool. And then in addition to that, is it just any skilling that can proc the book?
Anything where Grace of the Elves, Brooch of the Gods will proc, this will proc.
So Grace of the Elves is different, right? Because it's only for gathering skills. Brooch of the Gods is for everything.
Oh, sorry. Anywhere that Brooch of the Gods will proc, this will proc.
Okay, cool. So it will stack with stuff like Prosper and things, and then you can go and try and see if there's like methods to actually get clues. Okay, cool.
Exactly.
Question here quickly from the chat. I just want to grab before I forget about it. Our level 3 skillers out there are asking, this just to confirm, you can go do this boss and you will not gain combat XP, correct?
Yeah, you will gain no combat XP. Something I didn't actually mention previously. So obviously there's a level requirement for the nodes outside. There is no level requirement technically to engage. Like in the boss, it is balanced for level 80 at a minimum. So you will struggle, and as if you were level 1, you can lose from 1 hit essentially from the boss. So you're higher level, the more you're going to benefit in there. So also obviously because there's that massive jump in kind of potential level and potential people engaging, the XP that you gain in the boss encounter does also scale. So the higher your level, the more you're going to benefit from it in many different ways. The more you're going to contribute, the more you're going to XP you're going to get. The more you contribute, the more rewards you get. So yeah.
Cool. And just before we do some quick fire questions, because I know we're coming near to the end of our time limit. So we talked a lot about these rewards. We ran through all the rewards you can find. Can you talk to me about where these rewards come from, especially in terms of what's the boss and what do the skilling nodes give you a chance to find, just so people are clear on what comes from where, essentially?
So the whole idea behind these kind of nodes, and like from a design point of view, was we wanted skillers to be like, even if you're not interested in that magic tank armor, for example, you can come here, you can train it, you can get it, you can restore and fix it into a state where then you're going to be able to sell it for value. Back years ago, skillers would massively contribute towards, would contribute in some respect anyway to combat players, and like this is kind of a way we're looking at. We've looked at doing that both from the armor, from the skilling offhands, giving the arrow tips. These are all nice ways that it kind of ties into skillers doing stuff to sell or to use for themselves if they want, or give to combat players. With this, so the armor, the offhands, the seed bag, they all come from drops from the boss. Obviously, there's pet and things like that, the standard boss stuff as well. The arrows are obviously created from your offhands procking on core ores or trees. The rune pouch sponge, I can't remember. It's just that's from a drop as well.
Rune pouch is from the what they call the flakes. and just some tertiary stuff. There's not a core drop for it. So people can come here, just farm out a load of flakes, and make multiples of the rune pouch.
Awesome. Thanks for running us through that. Just thought it'd be great to make sure everyone's really clear on what to expect and from where. So, chat, do you have any questions? Also, Maikeru, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in.
I saw a couple from chat that I can
go for it.
You guys. So one would be, when it comes to the tier 90 tank armor, I'm guessing it's not dyeable because that actor and stuff isn't.
Nope, it's not dyeable.
Okay. And then when it comes to the God Book, is it like Prosper where it bypasses the cap of clues, or does it stop at the cap?
It bypasses the cap, I believe. I will try to confirm that after this, but I'm 99% sure it just bypasses.
Yeah, it should do, yeah.
That makes it a lot stronger. That's cool. And then the final one was like, when you're doing the actual boss, I'm guessing you can get skill impets from doing it?
Yep. So you're gathering in here, you've got your chance for skill impets still. You've got a chance for strange rocks, things like that. We didn't block those because those are things you want. Obviously, like with the boss, one thing that we've kind of pushed for and tried to encourage is kind of that inventory management. So try to reduce, not force loads of those sorts of things on you. But yeah, skill impet stuff, we're not going to prevent you from being able to get these in that content.
Well, I saw a question. Can you dye the rune pouch?
Yep, you can also use your dyed one that you already have in the creation. You'll get the same dyed version out, so you don't have to clean it and re-dye it. Yes, basically yes.
And Formoli's asked, what type of arrow shafts do the new arrows require?
They need Elder arrow shafts. Yeah, I think that's the name. Elder log shafts, Elder arrow shafts. Sounds right. The highest tier ones.
Does the tank armor absorption stack with animate dead?
Depends how you define stack. Yeah, they'll both apply. So 1,000 damage incoming, reduced by 12% on the first one, will bring it down to 880, and then reduced by whatever your animate dead is. They'll be like, you get hit by 300 because you're a tanky boy.
Awesome. I know we are getting to the end. Shrew, Sponge, Jack, is there anything else you want to add about this front that you want to tell anybody, or that we haven't covered yet, or anything anyone else should know before we wrap up?
I think we've covered everything.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you enjoy it. Obviously, not long now till it comes out. Yeah, nothing more to add.
Yeah, I think I speak for all of us when we can't wait for Monday, where we're going to get to watch so many of you take this on. And I know, Shrew, you've been saying the teams will be sitting down for huge long gaming sessions where you've just been trying to figure out strats and ways you can take on this boss, and kind of even finding things yourself. So God knows what the RuneScape community is going to cook up, because we've seen them time and again surprise us with stuff. So I think that's going to be pretty exciting for all of us. To all of you, thank you for joining us. One last thing I want to touch on before we went off is Elise Q&A. We've been looking to do this for a while, as the infamous AC going down, which actually ended up being for 2-3 days, which was it is not still down. I can assure you of that. But we've basically just had scheduling conflicts. Some of them are my fault, and I apologize. I've been on some vacation. Some of it's been the team vacation, and some of it's just been there's a lot of planning right now going on into 2022, and the team's focus is in a lot of very in-depth meetings. It's just been hard to get people on stream. So what we're going to do, we've kept you waiting far too long. We should have been better. So we're going to look at if we can do something a little bit different, not just with the leads, but with teams throughout the whole of the RuneScape team. So we're looking to see if we can bring something together that's less dependent on being able to get a stream together and being able to grab people at a more specific time, and try something that's a bit more flexible. We want to be accessible. We don't want us to not be around as often as we have kind of not been lately. So we're going to look at potentially some stuff with Discord stage and podcasts and chat rooms where you can talk to us and we can answer a lot more of your questions and have more dedicated time for that. So don't have anything confident to say today in terms of we're exactly doing, but just know we have things in progress to try and fix this and make sure that we can always be accessible and we don't have these weird periods of time where we're constantly rescheduling things. So apologies for that, and just look out for what we're doing, and hopefully you love what we cook up. With that said, thank you very much again for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this look. Head on over to RuneScape.com. Any minute now, we're going to be firing up the blog. The trailer is on YouTube right now for you to go check out. We're going to run it for you one more time here. And otherwise, we'll see you on the Croesus front this Monday. Take care.